After a detailed discussion of Poynting theorem in previous lecture, now today we are going to discuss a very important quantity which is called Poynting vector. Actually, in previous lecture we have introduced this particular vector, that is Poynting vector. Just I have written for your convenience the result of the previous lecture. While studying Poynting vector, we have got an important result which in fact represents the energy conservation, and that result is divergence of E cross H equal to minus del T 1 over 2 E dot D plus H dot B minus J dot E. And you can write, this vector D for isotropic and linear dielectric is equal to epsilon E, and so B is equal to mu H. So if we will substitute these values of D and B in this result, we will get this simple expression minus del T 1 over 2 epsilon E square plus half mu H square. Actually, this half epsilon E square is the energy density of electric field, and this is energy density of magnetic field. And in this expression, this quantity E cross H was in fact recognized as Poynting vector, and it was denoted by S. We have seen this in previous lecture. So purpose of this lecture is to in fact know the different properties or the important significances of this particular vector S, which is called Poynting vector. One thing you should note here, this vector has been introduced in the way of divergence, because when we define divergence of E cross H, then we recognize E cross H as Poynting vector. So this is a significant fact, and this will in fact come into our discussion after some time. So first of all, we will define this vector, or you can say what the magnitude of this vector represent. First of all, we will know it, and after that we will actually discuss the important properties or significances of Poynting vector. So in fact, Poynting vector is interpreted as the power flux. When you say it is a power flux, what does it mean? Actually, it means it is the amount of field energy passing through the unit area of a surface perpendicular to the plane containing electric field vector E and magnetic field vector H in unit time. And as energy flowing per unit time is simply power. So you can say that it is simply the power passing through unit area. And power passing through unit area normally or perpendicularly is also called intensity. So actually, in case of flow of wave, Poynting vector is simply the intensity of that wave. We will we will see these facts in the physical interpretation of this vector. Let us now take an example. In case of a plane polarized electromagnetic wave, the two field vectors, electric field vector E and magnetic field vector H, are perpendicular to one another. We know it that in case of plane polarized electromagnetic wave, E and H are perpendicular to one another, and at the same time these two vectors oscillates perpendicular to the direction of the propagation of the wave. And because in fact a plane polarized electromagnetic wave is a transverse wave, and so these two vectors E and H both are perpendicular to the direction of propagation of the wave. Now see this first figure. If you will see this figure 1, you can see that I have taken the electric field oscillating in a direction Y and the magnetic field H oscillating in direction H. if we assume that in a plane electromagnetic wave E is directed along y and H is directed along z, then in accordance with the definition of Poynting vector, what will be in fact the Poynting vector in case of this first figure? So from figure 1, you can see the Poynting vector will be E cross H. This is its basic definition, E cross H. And as the figure 1 says that E is directed along y-axis and H is directed along z-axis. So write these vectors in terms of the orthogonal unit vectors. You can write vector E as EI, not EI but EJ across HK. And what will be this? This will be simply EH, and you know J cross K is equal to I. So in this case the Poynting vector is directed in x direction, and you know this wave will be propagated in direction x. So this Poynting vector is directed along the direction of propagation of wave. This is direction of propagation of wave. Direction of propagation of wave. And from figure 2nd, what we are seeing in figure 2nd? Figure 2nd. What you see? You can see in figure 2nd the electric field vector is in z direction and the magnetic field vector is in y direction. And so now we can write the Poynting vector S as EK cross HJ, and you know K cross J is equal to minus I. So this will be minus EHI. It means in this case Poynting vector is directed along a negative x direction, and you can see in this figure this is in negative x direction, and so such a wave is also propagated in negative x direction. So this is the direction of propagation. Direction of propagation of the wave. So in fact in not only in this simple wave, but in most complicated wave, in fact almost in all situations, Poynting vector is directed in the direction of wave propagation. Although in different medium there are some different situations which we will in fact discuss in the forthcoming lectures. So this is the basic definition or basic meaning of the Poynting vector. Now actually we will see the important significances of this vector, that is Poynting vector. So physical significances. Physical significances, or you may say different properties of this vector. First of all, we will see that actually the conception of energy of the electromagnetic field as residing in the medium is very fundamental, and it has great advantage in development of the theory. Actually, Maxwell thought that the medium in which the electromagnetic wave is propagating is just like an elastic solid, and the electrical energy represents the potential energy of strain of the medium, while the magnetic energy resembles to the kinetic energy of motion. This was actually the thought of Maxwell. So just I am writing the main facts. That medium, in fact medium is just equivalent to an elastic solid. Elastic solid. And the electrical energy of the propagated wave is just equivalent to potential energy of strain of the medium. Potential energy of strain. And magnetic energy this is just equivalent to kinetic energy of motion. This was actually the thought of Maxwell. Actually, we will discuss this fact in more detail when we will discuss in forthcoming lecture the Maxwell stress. Then, in fact, these facts will be very clear to you. So, in fact, you can say that such a behavior of the, or you can say such a mechanical behavior of the wave propagating in medium exists, but this mechanical view no longer exists. Still, the energy is in fact regarded as being localized in a space and traveling in a manner indicated by the Poynting vector. So, Poynting vector plays an important role to understand the flow of energy in this case. Actually, as you can see, in case of light wave, a light wave, you know, light wave is also an electromagnetic wave. So, in case of light wave, actually there is certain energy per unit volume, and it is proportional to the square of the amplitude. In case of light wave, energy per unit volume is proportional to amplitude of the square of the amplitude. When you say a square of the amplitude, it means the magnitude of the electric field vector is amplitude, and this energy per unit volume is actually proportional to a square of this amplitude. And this energy travels along the Poynting vector, and this actually measures the rate of flow, or you can say intensity of the wave. As I have told you previously, in case of wave propagation, the magnitude of Poynting vector simply represents the intensity of the wave. Not only in simple wave but also in complicated wave, Poynting vector points along the direction of flow of energy or flow of radiation. So you can say, in case of waves, Poynting vector is the measure of intensity of wave. Intensity of wave. So this is its first significance. Now we will see its another important significance. In fact, in case of a point source of radiation, Poynting vector at any arbitrary point in the field varies inversely as the square of the distance from the point source of the radiation. I am just writing this statement and then I will explain it mathematically. So you can say, in case of point sources of radiation, remember, source is of radiation is just a point source. This is not arbitrarily any source, but this must be a point source. So in case of point source of radiation, the magnitude of the Poynting vector at any arbitrary point is inversely proportional to the square of the distance of the point from the point source. Actually, what this statement says, let us consider that this L is a point source of radiation, and we take any point, let us say P, which is at a distance r from this point source L. L is actually a source point, and source means it is source of radiation. Radiation is emitted from this point source, and P is an arbitrary point which is located at a distance r from this point source. Then, if at this point P, S is the magnitude of the Poynting vector, then in fact S should be inversely proportional to r square. This is the fact. Now we can see this fact very easily. Let us consider a point source, as I have assumed it as L, and take two concentric spherical cells and assume that the point source is located or situated at the common center of these two spherical cells, and say the radius of the inner cell is R1 and that of the outer cell is R2. We consider it. You know, the radiation emitted from a point source is in fact travel in all directions, and so the wavefront of such a wave is spherical, and so we can treat these spherical cells as the wavefront of the radiation emitted from that point source. And this point source L is actually of a constant power. Its power is fixed constant, and so you can say this L is a point source of radiation, and name it, the inner cell is A and outer cell is, let us say, B. So A and B are what? A and B are two concentric spherical cells. And remember, this point source is situated at the center of these cells, and P, this is actually the power of the source L. When you say P is power of the source L, it means this is actually the amount of energy emitted by the source L in 1 second, or energy emitted per second. This is actually power of this source L. And let us say at any point of the surface of A, the magnitude of Poynting vector is S1, and that on the surface of B it is S2. Let us say, so S1 and S2 are what? These are magnitude of Poynting vector at any point on A and B respectively. A and B respectively. Let us consider it. You know, the radiation emitted from the point source will incident on these spherical surfaces perpendicularly, because the radiation in fact diverge radially outward, and radius is normal to the spherical surface. So radiation is passing through these spherical surface normally. And now, in accordance with the definition of the Poynting vector, we can define or we can measure S1 and S2. So you know what is S1? S1 is actually the energy passing through unit area of the spherical surface A in unit time. And you know, energy flowing per second is power. So you can say S1 is actually the power passing through unit area of the surface A. Since surface area of A will be what? That will be 4 pi r1 square. So the magnitude of Poynting vector at any point on the surface of spherical shell A will be simply power P divided by area of the surface A, and that will be 4 pi r1 square. And in similar manner, you can find S2 will be what? This will be P over 4 pi r2 square. Since energy passing through both of the surfaces are same, and so P remains same. Now we will find the ratio of the magnitude of these two Poynting vectors at distances r1 and r2. So you can see, if we find S2 over S1, what will be the result? You know, you can see P will cancel out, and this will be in fact R1 over R2 whole square. And this implies S1 R1 square is equal to S2 R2 square, and so on. If we will take more than two spherical surface, similar result will hold, and so this is so on, and this will be actually equal to constant. And so in general, you can write S into R square is equal to constant. And if S into R square is constant, what is S? S is constant over R square. And therefore, you can see this S is actually inversely proportional to R square. So you can see that in case of a point source, the magnitude of Poynting vector at a particular point at a distance r from the point source is actually inversely proportional to R square. So this was the second important physical significance of this vector. Now we will see a most important fact regarding this vector, and this fact is that the definition of Poynting vector is not mandatory. First of all, we note it. The definition of Pointing vector is not mandatory. This is a most important significance of this vector. What does this statement means? When you say that the definition of Pointing vector is not mandatory, it means the manner by which we have defined the Pointing vector may be changed. If it is not mandatory, it means definition is not fixed. So how we have defined a Pointing vector? We have defined it as S equal to E cross H. It means this definition is not fixed. It means we are free to define Pointing vector in some other way too. This statement says. And actually, why this is said that the definition is not mandatory, we can understand it. As previously in the beginning, I have just written the result of the previous lecture, that is the lecture on Pointing theorem. We have mentioned it here that divergence of E cross H is equal to this much, and the quantity E cross H whose divergence has been defined is recognized as Pointing vector. So you can see from this that actually the Pointing vector is introduced by the way of divergence. And you know, divergence of curl of any arbitrary vector field is 0. And this is the reason, if we will in fact add in this definition, that is S equal to E cross H plus curl of any vector, then the physical meaning of the Pointing vector will not change. You can see this, that since S is defined through the way of divergence, and divergence of curl M equal to 0, where M is any arbitrary vector. Any arbitrary vector. And so, if we define S equal to E cross H plus curl of any arbitrary vector M, S equal to E cross H plus curl of M, then the physical meaning of S will not change, because whenever we define S, we will take the divergence, and after taking divergence, this term will in fact 0, and so the physical meaning will not change. You can see, just I have mentioned the result of previous lecture. From that you can see that we know divergence of E cross H equal to what? We have seen that this is minus del t 1/2 E dot d plus H dot b and minus J dot E. We have seen it. And here this E cross H is recognized as S. You can say where E cross H equal to S, it is recognized in this way. Now let us take the divergence of E cross H plus curl M. Now if we define divergence of E cross H plus curl of M, where M is an arbitrary vector, you can take any vector, then what will be the result? You know, this will be divergence of E cross H plus divergence of curl of M. And as divergence of curl of M is 0, so this will be simply divergence of E cross H. Divergence of E cross H. So if we consider that this E cross H plus curl M is equal to S, the result will be remain unaltered. And you can say that this is actually equal to minus del t 1/2 E dot d plus H dot b minus J dot E. So what you are seeing here? So we can say that, so if S equal to E cross H plus curl M, then the physical meaning of S does not altered. And this is the reason that we say that the definition of S as E cross H is not mandatory. We may define it as E cross H plus curl M. Although this difference, that is this additional term which is curl M, has no physical consequences. So for simplicity we define S as simply E cross H. We never write S equal to E cross H plus curl M. But remember, if we will define this S as E cross H plus curl M, physical meaning will not change. It will remain unaffected. So hence definition of S as E cross H is not mandatory. Not mandatory. So this was a very important fact. Now we will discuss a fourth important property of this Poynting vector. This is also very remarkable. You should see here. Actually, it is said that if Poynting vector is 0, then no electromagnetic energy can flow across a closed surface. Remember, if Poynting vector is 0, no electromagnetic energy will flow across a closed surface. But its converse is not true. It means what? It means if no net field energy is flowing across a closed surface, then the Poynting vector may be zero or may not be zero. So this is a very remarkable fact. First of all, I am just noting it, and after that we will explain it. So you can say if S equal to 0, Poynting vector is 0, then no energy can flow. Energy means electromagnetic energy can flow across a closed surface. But the converse is not true. Converse is not true. When you say converse is not true, that is, if no energy flows through a closed surface, then S may or may not be zero. So in this statement there are two parts, and we will explain both of the parts separately. First of all, see, the first part of the statement is when S is 0, Poynting vector is 0, no flow of energy will take place. And you can see it very easily. Here S is equal to 0. It is given. And we have to show that there will be no flow of energy through a closed surface. Let us consider a closed surface. Let us say this S is a closed surface. And you know the energy flowing per second through a closed surface is what? This is simply the flux of the Poynting vector. So energy flowing per second through a closed surface S equal to flux of Poynting vector S through S. And the flux of Poynting vector through S will be what? This will be in fact normal surface integral of vector S. This is S dot dA, or equivalently you may write it as integral over S dot n hat dA. But you can see, since this S is equal to 0, so definitely this integrand will be 0. And in case of definite integral, if integrand is 0, the result is 0. So this is equal to 0 because S is equal to 0. So we can see that when Poynting vector is 0, then actually through any closed surface net flow of energy is equal to 0. Now the second part of the statement says that if there is in fact no flow of energy through a closed surface, then the Poynting vector may be 0 or may not be 0. Now let us in fact explain this important fact. Let us say, let the case of STD fields, when you say STD fields, it means the electric field vector E is constant, and at the same time magnetic field H is also constant, and we can take, it means E is not equal to a function of R and T, and H is also not a function of R and T. It means that these fields are neither a function of space nor of time. We considered in fact such electric and magnetic fields. Now we can see that in general S is equal to E cross H. And since these are constant, not in fact 0, so this S that is equal to the S equal to E cross H is not equal to 0 in general. And this implies if we will take an elementary area, let us say dA, then the flux of the Poynting vector S through this elementary surface dA, which will be in fact S dot dA, this will be not 0. But we can see that integral of S dot dA over the closed surface S, this will be equal to 0. We have to show it. Here S, we are taking S not equal to 0, but in that condition we can show that the integral of S dot dA over a closed surface is 0. It means the Poynting vector is not 0, but the flow of energy through a closed surface is 0. It means that when flow of energy through a closed surface is 0, the Poynting vector may not be 0. It may be 0 or may not be 0 too. Let us see this. First of all, I am just evaluating this integral, that is the total flow of energy through a closed surface in case of these STD fields. Remember, we are considering the STD fields. Now, the flow of energy through a closed surface S per second. What will be this? If we denote this by P, what will be this P? Actually, you know the flux of Poynting vector is actually the total energy flowing per second. So this will be S dot dA. And when we say this is S dot dA, let us apply here the Gauss's divergence theorem. We can change this normal surface integral into a volume integral. Let us suppose this closed surface S encloses a volume V. So in accordance with Gauss's divergence theorem, this surface integral will be what? this surface integral will be actually equal to integral over V divergence of S dV. Divergence of S dV. Now, according to the definition of Poynting vector, you know this S is equal to E cross H, and so we can write it, this is equal to integral over V divergence of E cross H dV. Now, use the vector identity for divergence of E cross H. You know this divergence of E cross H is equal to what? This is, in fact, this is H dot curl E minus E dot curl H dV. But as the field is STD, and you have seen above that E is actually not equal to a function of R. It means this is not equal to a function of x, y, z. Therefore, what will be this curl of E? You know, curl means differentiation with respect to these space coordinates, and since this vector E is not a function of x or y or z, so this curl E will be equal to 0, and similarly curl H will be also 0. Similarly curl H, this will be also 0, and therefore this expression defined here will be in fact 0. And so what we are seeing? We are seeing that the flow of energy through a closed surface per second, which I have denoted by P, and it is defined by integral over S dot dA, this is equal to 0. But we have taken that the vector S is not equal to 0. So what you are seeing here? You can see, although Poynting vector is not 0, but the total energy flowing through a closed surface is 0. And if the Poynting vector S is not 0, but if the Poynting vector will be 0, then it is obvious that S dot dA will be also 0. But one thing here is remarkable, that in this case S dot dA is not equal to 0, but integral of this quantity over a closed surface S is 0. So this is very remarkable that you can say that the S does not determine the rate of flow of energy through a small element dA, but it actually implies that only the flux of S across a closed surface is significant. So the flow of energy through an elementary surface is not very significant, but the flux of the vector S through a closed surface is significant. So this was a very important fact. Actually, there are some other important physical significances of this vector, but I would like to deal those properties in the next lecture, and in next lecture we will also see some important examples regarding the Poynting vector.